I woke up to a house that felt like it had already made a decision. No clatter from the kitchen. No smell of coffee. No hurried whispers cut short when I shifted in bed. Just the ceiling fan ticking unevenly, like it had lost interest halfway through its job. For a moment, I stayed still. Not out of drama. Out of habit. I'd learned over the years that if I waited long enough, things tended to reveal themselves without me having to ask. Father's Day. I checked the time. A little after 8. The night before, my wife had kissed my cheek and said, "Sleep in. Don't make any plans." She'd giggled when I tried to guess. Pancakes. A drive somewhere. "It's a surprise," she said, the way people say, "Trust me," when they don't plan to explain later. I lay there longer than I needed to. When I finally got up, the bed beside me was cold. Her phone wasn't on the charger. The closet door stood open in a way that suggested purpose. In the kitchen, the counters were clean. Not "we cleaned up after breakfast" clean. Preemptively clean. The kind of clean you leave when you don't want to be accused of having been there. I told myself it was early. I made coffee. Drank it slowly, sat at the table, and stared at the chair across from me like it might confess something. By 10, the quiet had weight. I checked my phone once. Nothing. No Happy Father's Day. No inside joke from my daughter. No badly cropped photo posted too early. The kind of thing you excuse because it means someone tried. At noon, my phone buzzed, not with a message, but with movement. An Instagram story, auto playing before I could decide whether I wanted to see it. A table. White plates. Mimosas catching the light. My wife's laugh in the background. My daughter leaning into her uncle grinning. My father-in-law raising his glass like he was officiating something important. The caption appeared beneath the final clip: "Best dad ever." I didn't feel anger first. I felt clarified. It wasn't that they'd forgotten me. Forgetting requires absence of thought. This was something else, an adjustment. Like moving a piece of furniture, because it made the room flow better. I watched it once. Then again without sound. I noticed details I wouldn't later admit mattered. The seat at the end of the table, that could have been mine, already filled. The ease with which no one looked toward the empty space. I didn't react, didn't text, didn't post anything cryptic. I finished my coffee, washed the mug, put it upside down on the rack like I always did. Then I took my keys and left. I didn't go far. A small hotel near the highway. The kind meant for people in transit, not escape. I paid for 2 nights, asked for a room facing the parking lot. I wanted to see where I was, not pretend I was somewhere else. That afternoon my phone buzzed twice, a missed call from my wife. Then another. I turned it face down. It wasn't punishment, it was timing. I needed to know what would happen if I stopped compensating. If I didn't soften the moment with humor or logic or reassurance. If I let the silence stay intact long enough to be noticed. The first messages were confused. "Where are you?" Then defensive. It was just a joke, then irritated. "You're overreacting." I didn't respond. By the second morning, the tone shifted. My wife left a voicemail that sounded rehearsed, careful. She said my name the way people do when they're aware someone else might hear it later. Then came my daughter's message. "Please come home. I didn't know it would hurt you like this. We didn't know Ash." I read it several times. It landed heavier than anything else, not because it excused what happened, but because it confirmed something I'd suspected for years. They hadn't known. Because they hadn't been paying attention. An hour later, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. It was the school counselor. My daughter, panicked by the silence she'd helped create, had gone to someone she trusted. She'd said she thought her father had left. Not dramatically. Just, quietly. And she was scared that meant something permanent. The counselor's voice was calm, professional. She asked where I was. If I was safe. If I planned to return home. I answered honestly. Short sentences, no accusations, no speeches. "I'm okay," I said. "I needed space. I'll be back when I'm ready." There was a pause, the kind that signals a shift from listening to assessing. "I think," the counselor said carefully, "it would be helpful if we all talked together." That was the moment. Not loud, not cinematic, but unmistakable. This wasn't a family disagreement anymore. It was something that had crossed into a space where intentions didn't matter as much as impact. Where jokes were evaluated by effect, not delivery. When I came home that evening, no one rushed me. My wife stood in the doorway like she wasn't sure which version of me was returning. My daughter hovered behind her, eyes red, holding her phone like it might ring again. The house looked the same. That was almost worse. We sat at the table. Not to fix anything. Just to be present while someone else asked the questions we'd avoided for years. Why had the brunch been planned without me? Why was the caption written that way? Why did no one think to check if I was okay? There were answers. None of them were cruel. Most of them were careless, habitual. The kind of explanations that rely on someone else always being steady enough to absorb the weight. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I said, "I don't want to be celebrated as a concept. I want to be included as a person." No one argued with that. They couldn't, not in that room. Later, after the counselor left, the house settled into a new kind of quiet. More cautious. Less assuming. No one apologized perfectly, no grand repair was offered. Just an understanding, uneasy, incomplete, that something had shifted and wouldn't shift back. That night, I slept in my own bed, alone but not erased. Father's Day passed without resolution. There was no redo brunch, no rewritten post, no tidy moral. But something undeniable had happened. They had learned that my absence wasn't decorative, and I had learned that dignity doesn't always arrive with forgiveness. Sometimes it arrives with silence, kept long enough that someone else is forced to hear it.